the new cautionary statement from Jerome Powell may completely alter the landscape for Bitcoin XRP and cryptocurrency investors. The Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell, has enormous influence over the financial world. In June 2022, Powell began raising interest rates through quantitative tightening, which led to the collapse of the cryptocurrency market and the failure of multiple banks. Later, Genesis FTX, Celsius Network, Voyager Gemini Trust, and many other companies completely collapsed. However, the contagion is far from over, and we need to prepare for what lies ahead. Currently, Powell is particularly concerned about a large number of small and medium-sized banks that are over-leveraged in various commercial real estate loans, and things don't seem good. However, banks are having problems with commercial real estate as a result of employees working from home, which is putting pressure on retail and creating underpopulated office districts. The Federal Reserve is collaborating with the impacted banks to find solutions. There is undoubtedly light at the end of the tunnel, so let's dive in because you need to know what's going on with commercial real estate. One major factor in this is the secular shift toward people working from home, which means that many cities have very underpopulated downtown office districts and empty buildings in both major and minor cities. We have identified the banks that have high concentrations of commercial real estate, particularly office and retail, and we are in dialogue with them about whether they have adequate capital, liquidity, and a plan in place to absorb losses in this situation. The retail, which was there to service the thousands and thousands of people who work in those buildings, is also under pressure. Banks will have made loans to many of those buildings, but not all of them. This is something we have known for some years. We've been working with them for a while now, and you know that this is a problem that we'll be working on for years more, so I'm sure there will be issues. Are you being honest with yourself and with your own small and medium-sized banks could fail? Jerome Powell warns, spreading the risk throughout the commercial banking sector. Bank collapses. It is important to note that he did state that this is a problem that will be addressed for years to come and that bank failures will occur. However, this is not the major banks. If you look at the really big banks, it is not a first-order issue for any of them. Jerome Powell is almost certainly the commercial banking market size in 2023 was approximately $1.4 trillion US, and it's actually growing this year quite substantially. Yes, the large banks like JP Morgan Chase Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and Citigroup do dominate this sector, but the small-medium banks also play a massive role in this. In fact, these small-medium banks far outweigh the market capitalization that FTX did have, so the contagion that they'll cause when they eventually fail will be much larger. Jerome delves a little bit deeper here so we fully understand why he won't be helping these small and medium banks. As you're talking with these small and medium-sized banks, we know there's always a chance of a contagion, which we've seen in the past. Do you have concerns that if Jerome Powell warns of inevitable bank collapses, urging everyone to prepare, while also discussing good news about inflation? What are the issues? You know it's a very active thing for us and the other regulators, and it will be for some time. Thank you. They fail to recognize that this will affect the financial sector in some way. Are you ready to deal with it and work to stop it from happening? We're attempting to keep ahead of that, so we also called out to banks with high concentrations of uninsured deposits, especially uninsured deposits, and a lot of commercial real estate in the office sector. So yes, we are aware of the problem and are working to stay ahead of it on a bank-by-bank basis. Overall, though, we've been able to do that. Thank you. Let me jump in. This is a crucial point because Jerome Pennsylvania kind of sidesteps the question by saying that some of these banks will undoubtedly fail, which is a warning for all of us present today. He won't say it directly because he doesn't want to negatively affect the markets. However, to be fair, he uses a lot of weight in his remarks, but it is clear that he is talking about this, so we should prepare. This leads us to the topic of inflation, and you'll want to listen because we have some positive news to share. The economy has been growing, and although GDP growth is predicted to slow down, it is still forecast to be quite strong. The labor market is also expected to remain tight, with substantial job creation. Recent data indicates that the economy has been growing at a steady pace. GDP growth for 2023 as a whole was 3.2% in the fourth quarter of last year. GDP increased by 3.1%, driven by both robust consumer demand and improving housing market supply circumstances. Sector was muted in the previous year, mostly because of high mortgage rates. According to our assessment of economic estimates, committee members generally anticipate that GDP growth will decelerate from last year's pace, with a median projection of 2.1% this year and 2% over the next 2 years. High lending rates also seem to have had an impact on company fixed investment. Since December, participants have usually updated their growth forecasts to reflect the strength of newly available data, particularly labor statistics. Although the labor market is still somewhat tight, the relationship between supply and demand is improving. The average monthly increase in payroll jobs over the last 3 months was 265,000. The unemployment rate has slightly increased, but it is still low at 3.9%. strong job growth has been accompanied by
to have weighed on business fixed investment. In our summary of economic projections, committee participants generally expect GDP growth to slow from last year's pace, with a median projection of 2.1% this year and 2% over the next 2 years. Participants generally revised up their growth projections since December, reflecting the strength of incoming data, including data on labor supply. The labor market remains relatively tight, but supply and demand conditions continue to come into better balance. Over the past 3 months, payroll job gains averaged 265,000 jobs per month. The unemployment rate has edged up but remains low at 3.9%. Strong job creation has been accompanied by an increase in the supply of workers, reflecting increases in participation among individuals aged 25 to 54 years and a continued strong pace of immigration. Nominal wage growth has been easing and job vacancies have declined. Although the jobs to workers gap has narrowed, labor demand still exceeds the supply of available workers. FOMC participants expect the rebalancing in the labor market to continue, easing upward pressure on inflation. The median unemployment rate projection in the SEP is 4.0% at the end of this year and 4.1% at the end of next year. Inflation has eased notably over the past year, but remains above our longer-run goal of 2%. Estimates based on the Consumer Price Index and other data indicate that total PCE prices rose 2.5% over the 12 months ending in February, and that excluding the volatile food and energy categories, core PCE prices rose 2.8%. Longer-term inflation expectations appear to remain well anchored, as reflected in a broad range of surveys of households, businesses, and forecasters, as well as from measures from financial markets.
This is great. I will say easing inflation numbers is fantastic for the economy, but another thing I will say is we should take most of what Jerome Powell says here as a grain of salt, because he has a very clear narrative he's trying to accomplish, and that is lowering inflation. So he's going to present the data that's good for him, but also he'll probably misrepresent some of the data, and most analysts will agree what the Federal Reserve reports is not actually accurate. Inflation is still higher than what he's saying, and yes, we do have a growing job market, that's great, but overall we have a lot more work to be done. So what does this mean? Well, it essentially means that interest rates are going to stay where they are for longer than previously anticipated. Jerome Powell does want to start lowering interest rates this year, but it's unlikely to happen until the latter stages of the year. We're talking about closer to the end of the year, which means we have quite a few more months of high rates, inflation being a little bit too high, and banks who are getting eaten alive. And when those small, medium banks do inevitably collapse, yeah, the contagion will be there, and Jerome Powell is not denying this. So we need to prepare ourselves right now, and I'm going to show you guys how we can do that. Number one, if you aren't already, I think now is the time to start dollar cost averaging into a number of different projects that you find good, whether that's XRP, Bitcoin, or any other cryptocurrency that you do like. If you buy them every single day at a regular interval, whether the markets go absolutely ballistic or they collapse down, you're going to be getting into the markets daily, and you're sure to benefit from either buying your favorite cryptos at a massive discount or having the opportunity to sell it off in the event that the markets go absolutely ballistic towards the end of this year or early next year. And there is no better place to do that than Fairdesk. If you sign up using my link down below, you can win up to $100,000 in cryptocurrency. I believe the future for cryptocurrency is very bright, and every single day I'm seeing more and more reasons why Bitcoin, XRP, and other cryptos are an amazing store of value that's free from the corruption of the dollar printer, which we've come to know very well in the last couple of years. So ladies and gentlemen, let's keep our eyes on the markets. Let's get involved every single day. Let's dollar cost average, and if you want to join my community and be part of this movement together of crypto, join my Discord, like the video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.